Welcome to Better Relationships, Better Life, where relationships expert Judy K. Herman and her guests share insights that can help you move through conflicts in your 9-to-5 jobs and your 24/7 lives. Crack the clarity code and create deeper connections beyond the messiness of relationships. Here's your host, Judy K. Herman.
Andy Way is an entrepreneur, speaker, and coach who helps parents and young adults connect with their truth and power. He served in the Navy and was a successful business owner, but he was also a single father facing tremendous family adversity. Yet, through the difficulty, he discovered his own healing journey, along with his son and wife. He wrote a book entitled Always Adventure, 5 Powerful Practices for Living a Happier, More Fulfilling Life. Let's listen in. Thanks so much for being here. Andy Way, you are an author, a speaker, and a coach. And thanks so much for joining the program today. You're going to be talking about adventure and how that helps you to have better relationships and better life. So yeah, share with my listeners, our listeners today, listeners, and some people are watching it on YouTube also. Share them about Andy.
Well, first, thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here. I love engaging in this conversation, and I love what you do. So, I'm just really a small town guy from a small island down on Isle of Hope in Savannah, Georgia. I live in St. Louis today, and been married to my beautiful wife for 13 years and have one son who's now 20. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm in North Georgia and you are from then South Georgia. You're going to have to stop by sometime. But yeah, what is your story? I'd like you to share parts of your story, Andy, and what makes you so passionate about the idea of living an adventure, because that's what you're all about.
It absolutely is. I think that my story is a lot like most people's story in that there's the hero's journey, right? And, I was a single father for 7 years, and I'm a Navy veteran. My background's in real estate, but, I'll just never forget when it all kind of this relationship started. We went through a 6-year battle to save our son's life. And during that process, I was always a really passionate father. And I couldn't save him. Didn't matter how many books I had read and how much energy I poured into that effort. And it really just kind of shattered me. And it was, but part of the hero's journey is coming out of that, right? I learned some lessons along the way. And one of the things I have always been really passionate about is engaging, being very intentional about my life. And it's something that I kind of put together through really a 5 or 6 year journey to figure out why I had this relationship to adventure kind of in my gut. And I really...
Well, let me hold something because I really want to get grounded in your story. You were saying you were a passionate father and you could not save your son's life. So
he's alive
this might
and well.
leave us with the impression that you've lost your son.
Yeah, sorry. He's alive and well. He's 20 years old. He turned 20 yesterday. But he won. We won the battle. He really struggled and went through a really hard period for 6 years. But now he came through that with some help, and he's happy and healthy and doing great. So sorry, didn't mean to mislead you. He's doing. Drew, my son, and my wife and I are committed to openly sharing our story to help other people. And so we're all very united in that willingness to share our story openly. So what he struggled with, he started when he was 12. He was in 6th grade, and he started cutting, and then it got into bulimia, and then it continued to evolve into severe acute situational anxiety and depression, suicidal ideation, and then that again further evolved into pretty severe drug and alcohol abuse. So there's not much we haven't dealt with.
Yeah.
So it took a lot of work to help him get through all of these challenges, all these battles.
Well, I appreciate you sharing, and I know that's very tender, and some folks that are even listening to this now likely are identifying with these kind of struggles. because especially when your child's going into the adolescent phase of life, there's so many hormonal changes and things that are happening, and you wonder, okay, what's going on here? And it's enough to really rock, I mean, just rock the foundation of your life. So
Yeah.
maybe you can talk about your journey. So first of all, thanks to Drew for allowing you as his dad to share this part of the story as well. And I'm curious about the relationship today, of course, but I'm also curious, if you don't mind, sharing about this journey, because they don't always stay 12, right? I want to give parents hope that whatever messiness you're going through in your life right now with the parenting issues, it's not always going to be that way. But so many times you think, like, how in the world can we get through this? So if you wanted to share some of that, we'd be all ears for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Our whole story, I hope, is that it's a message of hope.
Mm-hmm.
Drew is happy and healthy and independent and has a
Mm.
great job and travels and has his own apartment. At 19, he just turned 20 yesterday. So I could not be more proud of him. And, I get emotional even thinking about it. I'm just so proud
Mm.
and knowing all that we went through
Wow.
and what he went through. And so, part of that for me was that I became a kind of a shell of a father. I had nothing left. I had poured everything I had into trying to help him.
Mm.
I closed my company and
Mm.
was 100% just committed to doing everything I could to help him. And ultimately, I was just a shell of a man.
Mm.
He just had nothing left at all. Um, and it was awful. And one night, I was on the couch watching YouTube, and I'm not a motorcycle guy, but I came across this adventure motorcycling video of guys riding, dirt bikes in the backcountry of Colorado, and this drone footage, and it was just awesome. It was beautiful, and
Mm.
for whatever reason, something kind of that night registered in my gut, and I didn't know why or what it was at the time. But it was a month later when I bought my first motorcycle, and this adventure motorcycle, kind of a big street legal dirt bike. And my wife didn't like that I rode a motorcycle, but she
You know
loved
what?
the
I
way that
gotta
I
hold
came home.
this. There's a lot of wives that don't like their husbands riding motorcycles.
Yeah, yeah. And she didn't, but she loved the way that I came home.
Mm.
And it really became the vehicle that helped me to heal.
Mm.
Um, I would go out, and it was kind of like that boyish sense of adventure in me. I'd go out and explore the backcountry roads, these gravel roads, and I even did a 4-day solo motorcycle trip where I camped off the bike and had my clothes and food and everything on it, and it really began to evolve from there. And then I started to really unpack what is this relationship to adventure that's kind of inside of me, and why is it important, and who should care?
Wow. Well, I'm very fascinated with this, Andy, as far as even the timeline and where Drew was trying to figure his life out, and whatever things were going on in his mind, seeing then you as a dad go from a shell of a man, as you say, to finding this adventure. How did that affect your parenting and even this journey of you really supporting him to this point that he's now a 20-year-old, young man?
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of things that happened. We had to get help. We needed
Mm.
real help in a big way. And so we found a residential therapeutic boarding school,
Mm.
and they loved him with our heart.
Oh, oh,
And
I love that phrase. They loved him with
yeah,
our heart. Oh, that's
yeah,
beautiful, Andy.
yeah, they really did. And I am forever grateful. I'm looking
Mm.
at something on my wall now from them. We are committed to supporting them however we can still. And even just as recently as yesterday, I'm referring people to that school. And so
Wow.
we are big believers in the work they do and the heart with which they do it.
Wow.
Because it was while he was there that I was then taking the time to begin to heal. They offered
Mm.
us hope. So it really happened there that they began to, it was a fully accredited, it is a fully accredited school, but their clinicians are incredibly skillful in how they work with not only the student, but also the family.
Oh, that's remarkable. And maybe we can put some of those resources in the show notes for folks that want to know about that. Oh, Andy, that's wonderful. Yeah, so you trying to be maybe your son's only savior for a period of time, and then just realizing how much it's wearing and tearing, and we all need help.
Hmm.
And getting that help is so very vital. Sounds like it was that's exactly the turning point for you.
Yeah, it was one of them. I mean, we didn't, we kind of went through the therapist merry-go-round. I mean, we saw a lot of counselors. We tried to find the right fit, and that it wasn't always a great fit
Mhm.
until we finally did find the help that was a good fit. And it didn't just take once. You know, a lot of students are there for 6 or 9 months. Drew was there for 14.
Mm.
And then he came
Mm.
home, went to a great high school, and we lost him again. He dropped
Mm.
out, and
Mm.
and then he struggled again. And
Mhm.
my wife and I made the decision. All right, one more time.
Mhm.
Um, and he went back, and he was there for another 14 months.
Wow. Wow.
Right. So it wasn't. We were just really committed to doing
Yeah.
everything that we could. No regrets. We were all in.
Wow. Well, I know going through this is definitely it's a wear and tear on one's marriage, and so getting that partnership with your wife is pretty important and vital, obviously.
Yeah.
A lot of kids just kind of for those that are listening and you're going through some struggles in your relationship and in your family, a lot of times the child is what we've learned in therapy and all is the identified patient, so to speak, but it's really it represents even a bigger system of okay, things we need to change here in the family system. But I do want to encourage folks because it's so common. I appreciate about your story, Andy, is that you were diligent to pursue the right kind of help, even trying out therapists that weren't a good fit. Maybe they were for a period of time, but you needed something more. And I think that's so important. There's so many folks who will just maybe try it once and, oh, this is not a good fit. But it takes several times to get
Right.
the right fit, in some cases.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I realized through the process, one of the big takeaways was that as young teenagers,
Hmm.
they start to get to a point, particularly in high school, right, where they want their own independence. And as parents, the hard part, because we believe in all of their potential, the hard part is letting go of our need to control the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to trust that the seeds we planted in them are good, and we have to allow them to bear fruit. So we have to kind of give our teenagers, they have to take ownership over their life.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to let that happen. And so that was a big part. I remember a 3 month period where we really had to just let go until he chose his life.
Yeah.
And that was a big turning point for us.
Wow, that I appreciate you sharing that. If I had like just a very small fraction of the knowledge and expertise that I have today while I was raising because they're all now grown adults. I'm very proud of all of my four sons and daughters. But if I had a fraction of that, there's a whole lot I would do differently. And one of those things would be to really, from early on, let them know that their lives, they're the only ones that can live their lives.
Sure.
They're the only ones that can do that. Nobody else can do that for them. So really, and letting them know they've got what it takes to be resilient with whatever you go through, like that, whatever decisions or things you go through does not define you. So anyway, it's amazing. I think that within the human spirit and with when in all of us, Andy, that we align with that reality that, oh, I cannot live someone else's life. You can do whatever you can to support, but you're right. That's a decision. So, and two, it's all age related as well.
for sure. And we're not the sum total of the worst decision we ever made,
Oh my gosh, no,
right?
not at all.
I think that young adults, even as adults, we have a bad habit culturally of just being kind of mean to ourselves.
Mm,
And
mm,
it's so important for me as a father to be kind to myself in marriage, just with myself, and really instilling that in Drew. Like, don't forget to take care of yourself and be kind to yourself, whether
mm.
that's spiritually, physically, but also just your internal monologue, how hard
Yes.
you are on yourself. Sometimes people can be really, really hard on themselves, and it prevents them from really living a happy and fulfilling life.
Absolutely. And it's interesting. So just let listeners know too that you and I have been in a coaching program together and have did a whole lot of mindset stuff. But that journey of the mindset and catching those automatic thoughts and catching when that harsh critic in the head is showing up and then shifting to grace and compassion. It takes that self-awareness, but that's a continual journey. It's not like you just learn it and go through a coaching program and learn it, but it's a continual learning experience.
That's right. I mean, that speaks directly to really the book. I believe in not just, I was looking outside of myself for solutions. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I learned was that, that really not concepts, not for an intellectual understanding of a concept, but really the focus is on practice.
Mm.
So that's what my book is about, these 5 powerful practices.
Yes.
Sometimes, that you have to refine our skill set in relationship to these practices. So give ourselves some space and grace to practice these intentions.
Awesome. Yes. So you're a new author. Tell us the name of your book, when it's coming out, and I'm excited for you with
Uh,
this book, Andy.
I'm so excited. So the name of the book is Always Adventure: 5 Powerful Practices for Living a Happier, More Fulfilling Life. So it's coming out December 12th. And then we'll do a live launch party January 9th here in St. Louis. So
That is awesome. This is just in time for Christmas, right? I mean, we can do
yeah,
that and
yeah.
sounds to me, and also Father's Day, right? You're going to want to really promote the book around those holidays. Like what would you say that most fathers, because you're a father, no, I can't relate to that, but I can relate to what it's like to be a mom, but what would you say are some common struggles that dads have when their kids are going through some hard times?
I've spent over 20 years immersed in the conversation of fatherhood and raising boys in our culture today and parenting.
Mm-hmm.
I like to think that I am an emotionally self-aware father.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think, this could go back to the Industrial Revolution and the modeling that a lot of fathers have received. And I think a lot of men just are not um, emotionally aware. And
Mm.
I think that it's important for fathers to be sure to engage.
Mm.
So that's a big thing for me, is to really be intentional about engaging and to ignore any kind of status quo.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
Our
I think a lot of them do. I think a lot of men do have a heart and do really care, but may not communicate as much as maybe they should or could.
So let me ask you, this kind of goes into another question I had for you there, Andy, is what's the best well, let me back up.
Mhm.
What would be a message that you would give to your younger self, your younger dad self, let's say?
Yeah, to trust myself.
Mm. Tell us more about that. To trust myself. What does that mean? And
I grew up. I just had for a long time. I had a lot of self doubt,
mm,
and it's not that I didn't accomplish everything I've ever done. I've succeeded. I've done well.
hmm
I've been good at it. But for whatever reason, I still had a lot of self doubt.
mm.
And so that would be a piece of advice that I would give myself, is to really just trust that I'm good enough and my heart is good.
I think for what you just shared is probably the way that might look in a marriage or as a parent. if you're not trusting yourself, it may look like maybe being passive or unsure, not making maybe decisions that you need to move forward, or not being a leader or something. Is that how you would interpret it too?
Well, no, because as a father, I definitely trusted myself. I was almost kind of the opposite. I felt like I knew Drew best.
Mm,
That there's nobody who knew Drew or knows Drew like I do.
okay.
So I definitely trust my thoughts and opinions and decisions when it comes to Drew as a father.
Okay, gotcha. So you really stepped up to the plate with that,
Oh
but
yeah.
you're still kind of running on empty too, right?
Definitely during those darkest days, I definitely was. Now, it's been over 5 years of really doing the work of Always Adventure, so I feel full and excited and happy, and
Yeah,
it's
that's
been a lot of work
beautiful.
that has been poured into it.
I think it's beautiful that you're doing this, and even modeling folks that I've counseled with over the years that have gone through the worry and the struggle, and not just when their child's from 12 to 19 or 20, but when they're 40 or 50 or 60. No, not that, but like how to just like let go of that and live your adventurous and best life. To me, it's like gonna show like your resilience is going to make more of an influence than the worry and trying to control or even trying to manage someone else's life.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I'm reminded of the importance of that safety briefing we get when we board a plane about putting the mask on ourselves first.
Mm,
And one of the things that can happen in relationship and marriage, in any relationship, is we can get to a point where we kind of react
mm,
when we're running kind of on empty, and we're always just kind of exhausted and maybe a little unhappy or unfulfilled, and we kind of react to life as we're experiencing it. We react to our spouse, or react to our children's behavior. But when we put the mask on ourselves first and we take care of ourselves,
mm.
um, and we allow ourselves to take care of ourselves, then we are better positioned to respond in a way that is more in alignment with really what we want, how we would choose to respond, and not
Yeah,
just, you know.
absolutely. What's the best advice you've ever received, Andy?
Well, my father has given me a lot of advice. Um, but one of the things that I think is really great is all relationships succeed or fail
Mm,
based on communicated and agreed upon expectations.
mm,
Right. So it's up to us to really, because I will fail you if I don't really know what is expected of me. And I think
mm.
that's particularly true in your work and working with, better relationships, right? I
Yeah,
think it's
absolutely.
definitely key in my marriage that, we do really, we're very intentional about our communication, and it's really helped us through some of our most challenging periods.
Yeah. I think what you're modeling too, Andy, which is beautiful, that relationships change. The struggles that you go through at one season or maybe years, you're allowing this change to happen. It needs to change, but it will change. It's inevitable that it will.
Yeah, the beauty is if you're doing that together in relationship, particularly if you have a spouse or a partner, when you're evolving together, I would say that I have fallen in love with how my wife and I contribute to each other's evolution.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's been very supportive of this work, the work that I'm doing, and I'm always very, very supportive of her. Even recently, there was her former boss was, they're having a conversation about a career decision, and he was telling this other person that you're going to need to get Andy on board just as much as you are Christine,
Oh,
because
that's great.
we make decisions together, and that's just kind of how we are.
And isn't that why you get married in the first place, is to do life with another human being? And then we know that life never stays the same. It is always evolving, changing. So being intentional about that partnership and doing life together is, and it sounds to me like for you and your wife, like you're allowing yourself like to change and grow. I think that's beautiful.
Absolutely.
And
And
then
that's fun.
what a gift for Drew to see that in his dad.
That was the hope.
Yeah. Yeah.
That I could model what a happy, loving, respectful, relationship looks like.
Awesome. Awesome. And there's messiness at times still, right? It's not like we just arrive, like we go through our messiness.
Sure, absolutely. I think that the big thing is that those happen and you don't give up.
Mm,
You don't quit on because something got hard or it didn't look like what you thought for a minute, right? You stay committed and you communicate and you figure it out.
yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So, yes, how can people? I want to put some links in the show notes too, by the way, of the things that you've mentioned here, Andy. But how can people get in touch with you, find out about your book, order
Yeah.
it, and or pre-order, whatever? Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm on the social media platforms, right? Predominantly on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. Um, you can always direct message me on any of those platforms. I like to think that I'm pretty responsive. The book is coming out December 12th. There'll be Amazon links on any one of those three platforms is mainly where I am. And of course, you can go to the website, alwaysadventurelife.com,
Yeah.
and you can message me through there or kind of learn more there.
Well, thank you for the awesome work that you're doing, Andy. What a beautiful journey that you've been on, even though it's been hard at times, but like just this passion coming out of this adventure. And I'm sure you're really safe when you ride your motorcycle, right? Yeah, yeah.
I am. And I'll tell you, one of the most beautiful moments I ever had was getting to surprise Drew. He bought his own motorcycle, and we went on a 9-day backcountry Colorado trip together with 7 other guys and
Oh my.
kind of lived what I saw in that video and shared that with Drew. So, but yes, we're definitely safe, and we're using some backcountry. So.
Well, what an awesome thing. And thank you so much. And thanks also to Drew for him just, allowing his dad to do all that he's doing. Like, that is so cool. He's like, in a way, maybe supporting you
Yeah.
at this stage. So, yeah. Well, thanks again, Andy. And you take care. Thanks for being
Thanks so
here.
much for having me.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot.
I enjoyed learning about Andy's adventures. Here's my takeaways. Number one, we all go through seasons of difficulty in our family relationships. And Andy's story affirmed that there's light on the other side of that darkness. Relationships are always changing, and you learn and grow through it all. Number two, if you've been on a therapist merry-go-round, be committed to finding the right help. I loved the phrase that Andy used, they loved him with our heart. Allow others to love your teenager and get the help you need. And then number three, marriage partnership is so vital, and especially going through difficult times. So let me ask you, what resonated with you? Be assured that I read every comment from those who share their takeaways by filling out the form on the website, betterrelationshipsbetterlife.com. I would absolutely love to hear from you. And remember, you can hit that red tab on every page of my website that says Ask Judy. So leave me some comments there too. Next week, we'll hear from Tim and Adele Richardson, who talk with us about the value of the pause. In the meantime, please share, subscribe, rate, and comment in the streaming platform of your choice. See you next time on Better Relationships, Better Life.